This is Charleston's retirement coach, Brandon Bowen.
All right, so thinking about mistakes that we make when it comes to taxes, that seems like an obvious thing that we can tackle. What's not so obvious is risk in more ways than one when it comes to our retirement, Brandon. Attention, South Carolina drivers. Be on alert, because as people are hitting retirement age, they are not slowing down in so many ways than just one. This new study found that people are putting pedal to the metal in their older years based on accidents and violations. It found that the fastest senior speed junkies are living in Wyoming, Arizona, New Mexico, Alaska, and right here in the great state of South Carolina.
Oh, let's go. we could have the state troopers, they might want to sponsor our program. We're telling people to slow down,
We've
right?
been telling you. And then you can, right, we're both working together, Bowen Wealth and the state troopers, about how you need to slow down your risk on so many different levels. Because, of course, when it comes to speeding, please stay alert, all you summer travelers and drivers, especially if you're in a phase of life where maybe your eyesight and reaction time might not be the greatest that it's been before. Not judging, just saying. Now, when it comes to speed and risk levels and the work that you do, you got to look out for people in that space as well, because there's a lot of speed, quote unquote, and recklessness in the market investments that we have and that we carry into retirement for so many people that don't even realize in some cases, Brandon. So how do you, quote unquote, help folks get their foot off the gas?
Yeah. So I would say, to put a number on this, I would bet 80% of the households that come into the office for a review, I would say, are taking too much risk. Okay.
80%, really?
80%. Okay. I mean, that's most of them.
And because you work with people that are close to and are in retirement. So I imagine that a lot of people that are close to retirement, that would be kind of expected, right? Because they're still in that growth phase. But especially people that have already retired, you got to really look out for.
Right. And you might be thinking, well, Brandon, what's wrong with that? Look at the history of the market. It's only gone up, right? You've been pursuing growth, things like that. So you might think, well, I mean, I'm just going to keep invested for growth here and I'll be okay. Well, let me tell you why I'm saying this. Okay. Why that's wrong.
Okay.
Because when we start withdrawing money, you no longer are in that growth phase. Okay. When you start withdrawing money, that's the problem is, okay, imagine, if you were to go back and do so many, I've looked at so many studies on this, of course. I can prove it when you come into the office is when you look at a certain data point or a set of data here and there's ups and downs. Well, if you're not pulling money out, then who cares, right?
Okay.
And when it goes down, you're just buying on sale. That's fine.
Okay.
But when you start adding in, say like a 5% drawdown, right? Now you've got a 5% drawdown. So then whenever you have losses, it compounds the loss, right? Compounds the loss. And then let's say that happens for a year or two, and now the markets start recovering. Well, if markets are coming up, say, 6-7%, but you pulled out 5%. Okay. So now it's going to hurt and slow down your recovery. Okay. So that's the problem here is when you start having these withdrawals with your portfolio, you have got to put guardrails up on your money. Okay.
Yeah.
Case in point, let me tell you about some clients that came in. They had lived up in Boston. Okay. Lived up there. I love Boston. Went up. I've been there about 3-4 times. Fun city. And so, they had saved about $1.5 million. Okay. Their son lives here in Charleston. And so they moved down because they are now brand new grandparents.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love it. Yes. Brand new. So they came down here. They were like, okay, son, we're going to, we sold our place up here. We've got 1.5. Can we stay in the Frog here while we find us a house? I mean, I felt like they should have planned a little bit better.
Right.
But so they did that. They moved into the Frog. They then started, this was in 21. Okay. So they start looking at properties here. And then we get into 2022 and everyone can remember what happened in 2022, right? The Russia-Ukraine war started. Jerome Powell started raising interest rates. The markets, the S&P 500 went down 25%. At its low point, it finished the year down 20, right? Well, these clients were heavily invested, way too risky, way too much speed, as we're talking about here. They were heavily invested in the tech sector, okay?
Okay.
So their portfolio lost 50%.
Oh, wow.
Right there. I mean, it was like every day it was going down and down and down. And they were going to use this money for the house.
Right.
Right? To even qualify for the loan. to get the house.
Oh, wow.
And when this thing started going down, they were at that 1.6 million.
Yeah.
By the time it was all over, they were down to $800,000.
Panic.
Yes. And they were like, forget trying to even get a loan here. Like, we just need this for our peace of mind.
To survive. Yeah.
Yes. It was like, all bets were off. All plans were, canceled. Right. And so now they've moved. They're now stuck at their, I'm sure the son is probably like, okay, well, this is all right. Let's look at the bright side here. But
Okay.
she was crying in my conference room, right? That's how much to think your life savings in 1 year, right? How it can just
so fast,
vanish. And again, the problem was because they started withdrawing money, right?
Right.
Imagine that. So the markets were going down and now they're just like, what do we do, Brandon? So what we had to do is first, quit the hemorrhaging here, right? We had to get that stopped, had to start now positioning this money for peace of mind, for income. I had to now make sure that their basics were covered, right? And start working from there. Yes, the markets have recovered, but again, in retirement, you don't have that luxury. You don't have that luxury of saying, well, I'm not retiring for another 10 years, right?
Right.
So that's why you got to get more defensive, why you've got to start putting some plans and some protections in place. So if you're 55 or above, that's when you really, think about driving. I like to say, take the cruise off. Let's put the blinker on. Let's start getting over to that right-hand lane here because our exit's coming up, right? It's the worst when you're like, when Waze or the GPS is like, exit now, and you're in the wrong lane, right? And it's like you're trying to get over and you're trying not to get hit or hit anybody, right? So we got to start getting over to the right-hand lane. Our exit's coming up here, okay? We're getting off this highway, this growth highway. Now it's time to start enjoying our money, right?
Yeah.
The number 1, 2, and 3 objective in retirement is income, okay? Is less stress.
Sure. Obviously, yeah.
Yes. It's spending the money. It's traveling. It's doing these things. You didn't grow this money to then just not touch it and pass it on to your kids, right? You most likely you grew this money for you and your spouse, or for you to enjoy this money, right? And see the blessing and create the memories and create that legacy that money and wealth can help provide.
You talked about, Brandon, how these folks, they had come to you already after they had retired, and the market run that we've been on has spoiled so many of us. We have this false security about our market investments. So when should we then come to see you? When should we start to think about the whole de-risking? Is it 5 years from retirement? Is it 10 years from retirement? Or is it that 59 and a half number? When did you recommend people saying, okay, now's the time I need to call Brandon? Yeah,
I would say within 5 years before you think you're going to retire. Okay. Within 5 years, because we need to start, like I say, start slowing down, start looking at, okay, are we still taking too much risk, with what's going on? Now, here's the other thing to think about is I'm starting to hear more and more of these forced layoffs.
Right.
AI coming online here, more and more people, forced retirement, things like that. A lot of times very, very frustrating. You've put in so much blood, sweat, and tears with these companies, with this company, right? And, in different leadership or whatever, things can change like that, where they thank you for your service or maybe not so much. And, now it's like, oh my, what do I do? And in fact, we should probably talk about that, do a segment there on those things. But if you are thinking there's a chance I might get laid off here, I make a lot of money, they could, give it to some younger person, pay them half what they're paying me, then even if you don't plan on retiring for a little bit longer. Okay. So yes. So if you're within 5 years or, I'd say 60 years old, and gosh, if you're already retired and you don't have this plan in place here, and you might be taking a little too much risk whenever, like with this tariff issue going on, tariff negotiations, and the markets went down. If your money went down a little bit more than you were comfortable with, then you're not diversified. You're taking too much risk. You're too exposed. You're traveling too fast. So let's take a look at what you're doing. Here's our number. Grab your phone. I know it's sitting right next to you. 843-890-2400. 843-890-2400. Call or text that number there. And if you text the word risk. to 843-890-2400. And for the next 5 people who call or text us right now, I've got Tanya standing by. For the next 5 people that call or text us, we'll provide this complimentary portfolio risk review right now to the next 5 callers.
You have worked way too hard to get to this place where you have saved your precious nest egg. You do not in any way deserve to watch it fall apart and unravel right in front of you right as you get close to retirement, or as Brandon was talking about, that one couple, right as you've just gotten into retirement. Let's get to work helping you add layers of protection. It is time for you to enjoy this money and not be stressed about it all the time. Again, the number to dial, 843-890-2400. We've opened up 5 spots on the calendar today for radio listeners, so be one of the first 5 who call or text right now to reserve one of these spots for yourself. Again, to have this risk review on your retirement savings and investments. It's complimentary if you've saved $500,000 or more. There's no obligation, just an opportunity for you to get a lot of information and understand what your options are. This is what Brandon wants to show you through this risk review. 843-890-2400. Call or text the word risk to that number. Again, right now for the first 5 who call or text this portfolio risk review, 843-890-2400.
Thanks for listening to Charleston's Retirement Coach Podcast with Brandon Bowen. To learn more, visit bowenwealth.com and join Brandon for his radio show, Charleston's Retirement Coach, Saturdays at 11 a.m. on 94.3 WSC.
Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if J. Brandon Bowen is licensed in your state, please call 843-203-2030. J. Brandon Bowen is an investment advisor representative of Bowen Wealth, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. J. Brandon Bowen is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Bowen Wealth, LLC, insurance licensed in South Carolina. Market Guard is a registered investment advisor with the SEC and provides model portfolios only to Impact Partnership Wealth. Market Guard makes no implied warranties or representations and is not liable for any data presented.